Hey there, my name is Przemek and today I've got a retro review for you. A retro review of this album, Voivod, The Outer Limits. I know in our magazine we mostly deal with music, generally speaking, post-industrial, and most of the times I talk about dark ambient in my videos, but if I had to name one band that is the most important to me in general and has been my companion on the earthly misery for over 30 years, it would be this Canadian progressive thrash metal band, Voivod. I named this video a retro review, but it will not be a regular review. It will be mostly based on my personal memories about this album and this band in general. Voivod founded in 1982 in Jonquière, a town in Quebec, by four young guys hiding under the pseudonyms Snake, Piggy, Blackie and Away. The band is active up to this day with two founding members still on board, that is Snake, the vocalist, and Away, the drum player. Away has been a member of Voivod continuously from the very beginning, while Snake took a break for a few years and was replaced by Eric Forrest for the recording of, I think, two albums, Negatron and Phobos. I won't tell you precisely how many albums they have released. I think the regular ones was 16 or 17, because apart from that they have also recorded a lot of miscellaneous stuff, like live albums, re-recordings of old songs, etc. And I have to admit that in the last several years I haven't been following their newer recordings that much, but I often go back to these early ones, to the first 7 albums to be more precise. It seems to me that Voivod has always been a band that is more respected than popular. Of course, they have their own very dedicated fan base. They are mentioned among the inspirations by many musicians who achieved much more in terms of popularity or recognition, including musicians from the strict, mainstream, like Dave Grohl, for example. In my opinion, it is a bit unfair, but also understandable, because although some of their albums are more accessible, some less accessible, but they have never been following trends and playing what general audience expects, or calculating like if we record the album with this music, more copies, we'll sell more copies, or more people will come to the concerts, etc. No, they always stood a little aside of the scene, I would say, but they followed their own path that no one else had ever walked before. This is just a word of introduction, because you can find the biography on Wikipedia or some other websites, and you can of course listen to the music on various platforms. Although I assume that many of you know Voivod, because why not? Maybe a word about my history with Voivod. I first came across this name in 1992 in a Polish rock magazine, Tylko Rock, which means only rock. At that time I listened mostly to this more popular thrash metal, like Slayer, Metallica, Anthrax or Megadeth, or Big Four, plus some other bands like Creator But at some point it wasn't enough, and I thought I should widen my horizons, and felt that I had to check what was hidden because under this first layer, this surface of thrash metal, and I came across this short article in Tylko Rock, which was written in a very suggestive way, strongly stimulating my 13-year-old imagination. A few quotes maybe, mainly from Away. Only one member of the tribe, Voivod, survived the nuclear holocaust. His fight for survival begins. Voivod is becoming more and more mechanized and technicalized. It is becoming more dehumanized. The last screams of humanity are heard. The technicalized Voivod is becoming a killing machine. Its humanity is dying. We are convinced that the world is going nowhere. The band's sick music corresponds to our sick times. Yeah, well, me, fed with horrors and post-apocalyptic sci-fi movies watched in really crazy amounts on VHS tapes. After reading this article, I thought, wow, this is something for me. I have to check it out. Mutants, monsters, desolate wastelands, and all this in a, as I assumed, unpolished, anti-Hollywood, so to speak, version. And already then, being a kid, I was attracted by this dirt, this low budget and uncalculated madness, at least when it comes to films. So I felt deep down that this music would reach my heart very effectively. Summer 1992. Holiday in the countryside. I went to a nearby town where there was a booth or kiosk where they sold pirated tapes. It was a time when in Poland a lot of petty businessmen did business selling tapes with illegal pirated music, because it was still an unregulated issue in terms of law, and practically in most cities and small towns you had no problem buying illegal music. Nobody cared about copyrights back then in Poland. Even even near my house, this family providing mangling services, and as a side business they were selling tapes in the same office. So in addition to drying and ironing your clothes or curtains, you could also buy a tape of Sodom or Creator. Yeah, those were the days. But I don't miss them really. Anyway, I went to that town and bought the debut of Voivod, War and Pain, on on a pirate tape. I came back home, took my Walkman, went to lie down somewhere on the grass, admired the cover with this zombie warrior or soldier, pressed play, and and that intro, the sunny sky was immediately covered with nuclear clouds above me, those chains clanking, the breathing of a completely exhausted man, and suddenly that desperate scream of Snake, Voivod, and it all began, and I remember that it wasn't a love at first sight or a love at first listen. I knew Venom back then, and this I was familiar with this more primitive approach to metal music, but on War and Pain there was much more aggression and dirt, those punk influences, and such music wasn't really my cup of tea back then. And so I remember thinking, fuck, this probably isn't the music I am looking for. And after that first listen, I think only the two tracks I liked. The second one, Warriors of Ice, and the last one, Nuclear War, with those opening riffs heralding the epic end of the world. only those two tracks really appealed to me. And in the following days, I rarely returned to War and Pain, but somehow this album intrigued me, it had this weird power of attraction, and with time I listened to it more and more often, and I got used to this music. But I don't know if I would have searched for or look for more Voivod albums with such determination, if not for a late night metal radio show when one day they played two songs, Tornado and Tribal Convictions, and these two songs simply blew my mind. To this day I consider Tornado to be one of the most outstanding examples of uncompromising musical lunacy. An incredible story about the crazy escape from an approaching cataclysm, insane tempo, and at the same time a total precision in terms of execution and the tones of desperate emotions. The movie Twister is not half as suggestive as Voivod's Tornado, I would say. And then Tribal Convictions and those tribal drums at the beginning, great suspense and musical storytelling, the brightest example of ritual progressive techno thrash, if such a genre would exist. I didn't know at the time which albums these songs are from, so I came to the conclusion that I had to get all of them that had been, at least that the ones that had been released so far by the band. So I bought Angel Rat that time on original tape. I loved that one, even though it was so heavily infected with the new wave of British heavy metal, which I hated back then, and I still can't stand. When I hear Iron Maiden, I feel sick. But Angel Rat had nothing to do with Iron Maiden. It was more noble, I would say. Then I bought Killing Technology, one of the most important days of my life. First, it was the very first CD I have ever bought. I still have it. It cost a lot of money. Really. Yeah, there's even a price tag here. It says 300,000 zlotys. It was before the nomination we had in Poland a few years later. Today it would be 30 zlotys. Today it is not that much. It's like I don't know, 7 euros maybe, something like that. But 30 zlotys now and 30 zlotys 32 years ago, it's not the same. Back then it was really a lot of money, especially for a kid like me. The second thing why it was a very important day in my life, it had Tornado. On this, it was Tornado on this album, together with some other great tracks like the title track Killing Technology, Forgotten in Space, Ravenous Medicine, This Is Not an Exercise. And the third reason why it was one of the most important days in my life, that very same day I bought the original version of Sid Meier's Civilization video game in big box, this very epic and version of that game, and it also cost really a lot of money, and but that game will become actually the whole series become one of my favorite games ever. But I remember I spent all my pocket money back then, but it was worth it. I don't remember in what order I was getting another albums, but like I said, I love the first 7 today infinitely. Dimension Hatred, considered the most outstanding album in Voivod's discography. The wonderful Nothing Face with an amazing Pink Floyd cover, Astronomy Domine. The still brutal and crazy second album, Roar, and The Outer Limits. My favorite album by Voivod, and one of my favorite albums in general. Maybe it's even this very special one, released in 1993 by Mechanic Records, a sub-label of MCA Records. I'm not sure, but I think I bought it right after it was released, or at least as soon as it hit Polish music stores. It was also the first album to feature a lineup change because before the recording, Blackie, the bass player, has left Voivod, and he was replaced by a session musician, Pierre Saint-Jean. As you can see here, he didn't make it to the band photo on the back cover. The title of the album refers to a TV anthology. It was a sci-fi series from the 60s, I think, anthology sci-fi series, something like Twilight Zone, I never watched it, but in the 90s this series was revived and shown on Polish TV, and it was, I think, in 1995. And I loved it, my brother and I always waited for Saturday late evenings when they would air 2 episodes, and I still remember some of these stories from that revived The Outer Limits version. Many of those episodes didn't have a happy ending at all. But the Voivod album is obviously a reference to this older series, this original series from the 60s, of course, because the first episodes of this new one were broadcasted in 1995, so 2 years after the album's release. But also it is musically and conceptually the homage to the old black and white, slightly naive but so charming sci-fi of the 50s and 60s. There's really nothing left of the punk thrash madness of the first albums. On the following ones, like Dimension Hatred or Nothing Face, this progressive element and inspirations from Pink Floyd, Rush, Van der Graaf Generator, maybe even King Crimson a bit, those inspirations began to come to the fore, and as some say, Rush is the greatest Canadian band of all time, but Voivod is the second one. Piggy's characteristic guitar play based on dissonant riffs still led the way, but comparing to those earlier albums, the music featured more space and melodies. Angela still had this Voivod style, but it's tied up to more traditional hard and heavy. But I would say The Outer Limits is kind of extension of or development of that style, and at the same time probably the most accessible album, at least from those from, let's say, the first era of the band's existence. Yeah, here's how it looks like. As you can see, we have an alien in the style of comics from the 40s or 50s on the cover. I know that the first edition was also sold in a version with 3D glasses, and that cover pictures was kind of formed that after putting those glasses you saw it in a kind of quasi 3D, and inside We have, of course, the lyrics with the very, very small font, and the pictures for each song. The pictures by Away, whose drawing style is kind of inimitable, I would say. Yeah. And the album won me over with the very first riff, the opening of Fix My Heart, a great dynamic number, but at the same time breathing with a certain nostalgia, perhaps for something you have never experienced. After that we had Moonbeam Rider, still the song full of energy, but with a slightly dreamlike atmosphere. And I think on this track, for the first time, the session bass player Pierre Saint-Jean proves that he knows how to use bass and does a really great job there. After that we have Le Pont Noir or Devil's Bridge. It is a kind of ballad, but far from hard rock cliches. On Angel Rat we had two such ballads, both fantastic, the Angel Rat and Freedom, and Le Pont Noir is like the third track to complete a certain trilogy, I would say. And Le Pont Noir is like an incredible, scary story told around the campfire about the devil guarding a certain bridge. It is a song with a great build-up leading to an explosive finale. After that there's the Nile song, a Pink Floyd cover, and like Astronomy Domain from cover from Nothing Face. In my opinion, it is better and more moving than the original version. Then there's The Lost Machine, and this song has something mathematical, angular about it. There's a certain clinical precision to it that makes it that the song could fit Nothing Face album, in my opinion, where there was a lot of such motifs on that album. Although of course in The Lost Machine there's still more of a rock groove, After that there's Time Warp, a good song, but I think I like it the least of the whole album. It's just a good catchy piece, and that's it. But after that we have the opus magnum of both the album and the Voivod, and probably the entire work of Voivod, a 17-minute composition, Jack Luminous, where all of Voivod's musical obsessions and passions intertwine, prog rock, metal, hard rock, cosmic soundscapes, a great story about the artificial intelligence that comes from space and takes over the earth, and all this is told with a cinematic panache, a lot of changes of tempo and mood, and incredible structure of this track, also vocally, what Snake does in this song, kind of playing various roles in this story, it is mind-blowing, really. On the first albums, his characteristic vocal mannerism could seem a bit annoying, but on the Outer Limits, Snake proves that he's an outstanding singer, really. And of course, now when he sings, XD is coming, XD is coming. Today it may be a little bit amusing, but who cares? This is one of a kind composition. After that, there's the Wrong Way Street. It is interesting lyrically, because the band leaves this cosmic escapism for a moment even this cosmic escapism often refers in one way or another to real events or phobias. And starting with a story about a house breaking and a stolen guitar, they kind of contemplate the not so great condition of the modern world, and at the same time it's another great song with a great flow. And the album finale is also awesome. We are not alone. It's like a music version of a story from the Outer Limits series about the aliens visiting somewhere on the countryside, you know. But in this track there's kind of optimistic melancholy in this song, you know. An old man who is not surprised that a flying saucer has landed in his backyard, inviting aliens to his house, you know, for coffee. This song simply touches me in a very human way. It exudes an endearing naivety and longing for something distant and unknown, and that this first contact doesn't really have to be, you know, connected with any extraterrestrial invasion or anything like that. I think, and it has this old sci-fi vibe. I think in this track it is the most noticeable, although it hovers over the entire album, which features some unusual sounds, mostly in this Jack Luminous composition, like sounds, for example, reminiscent of the sound of flying swords. Sorry, it's 27 minutes of talking already. Flying saucers from old movies, and yeah. Uh, what can I say? I love the Outer Limits. You know, I remember how the news about Snakes leaving the band devastated me back then. I hated Negatron and Phobos when it was out. Those following albums recorded with Eric Forrest as a new singer and bass player. Uh, yeah, today I'm over it. I even like those two albums, although in my opinion they don't live up to the Magnificent Seven. Snake eventually returned to the band. For a few years they were joined by quite a celebrity, you know, Jason Newsted from Metallica, known mainly from Metallica, but also Flotsam and Jetsam and some other bands. And he played bass on, I think, 3 albums. In 2005, I was devastated even more by the news of Piggy's death, an outstanding guitarist, the driving force of Voivod, a musician ahead of his time, you know. However, Voivod survived all this turmoil and exists to this day, recording quite good albums, although incomparable to the classics in any way. I think that today this, well, older gentlemen simply don't feel any pressure. They enjoy playing and interacting with fans, and they enjoy life in general. Whatever the future brings, they have already done their part. And those great albums like The Outer Limits, of course, but also War and Pain, Roar, Killing Technology, Dimension Hatred, Nothing Face, and Angel Rat will stay with us forever. Okay, that would be it for today. A long video, almost 30 minutes. I hope I didn't bore you to death. I quite enjoyed this return to the past. Maybe I will be doing some more retro reviews with metal music and with some albums that were very important to me, like some hints: Pestilence, Spheres, Fate No More, Angel Dust, Slayer, South of Heaven. No, it's not. Everything was said about this album already. I think about it. It's a thing. It's a subject worth considering. Okay, thanks for watching and see you soon.